CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Alan Huffman, Amigos Retro Gaming, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donaghy, Brian Weasler, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pitsley, Rick Hewlin, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., Tim Lindner, Tom Heron, and Tony C. Thank you ever so much, patrons.
CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALK episode 224. We've got some special guests, we've got some announcements, we've got some promotions, we've got some assembly, we've got some news. Are you excited? I know I am.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking.
It's almost like I've done this before. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Good at time of day to at you. We are here on the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer, CoCoTALK. We've got a panel of people. We've got things to talk about, things to show, things to tell, things to do, all kinds of stuff. So we'll go around the room real quick and say hello. And by the way, I'm your special guest host today, making a random appearance on the program. Stevie Stroh is here. I begged and pleaded for a second chance because I know Grant fired me last week, but I did appeal. There was an appeals committee. There was a right to work whole thing going on, and I think it's still up in the air, but I'm on probation, so we'll see how I do today. So on the panel today from sunny Arizona, Ron Delvo. Hello, Ron. Hello. We've got the man who assembles and fills our mind and blows our mind. George Jansen is here. Hello, George.
Good morning. I don't know about all that stuff you just said, but we'll try.
All right. We got a man whose name is so nice, we must say it thrice. Going once, go twice. It's none other than
Nick Marotta.
Hello, Nick Marotta. How are you?
Hey, good, Stevie. Thank you. It's good to be here. Hey, everybody.
From the Great White North in Canada, it is L. Curtis Boyle. How's it going, E?
Hello, everyone. A lot of exciting stuff on the show today and a lot of exciting stuff happening on the show over the next few weeks. So,
absolutely. I missed your life story, and I don't have time to hear it again today, but Duncan Bell, welcome back to the program. I'm going to have to watch the replay because I know you joined us a week or so ago. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you very much. I missed it last week.
Okay, we have Rick Hewlin with us. How you doing, Rick?
Pretty good here and ready to solder your CoCo.
All right, and Curtis is here for no less than that. Rocky Hill, Pedro Pena is here. Hello, Pedro.
Hey, everybody.
We have Curtis Boyle's partner in crime, fellow Canadian, Bill Noble, eh? How's it going, eh?
Hello, everybody.
We have a member of the Amigos Retro Gaming and other podcasts and shows and streams. John Bodovkar Schaller is here. Hello, John.
Hi, everybody.
We have a new member to our Discord community, which we'll get to hear a little bit about today. Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Our resident Apple guy, Mark Overholzer's here. How you doing, Mark?
Hey there. Glad to be here.
The guy who fired me, Grant Leedy's here.
Hey, how's it going? And Stevie, you're fired.
All right, thank you. And Grant will be picking up part 2 of the stream. Grant knows a little bit about streaming. He's drinking right now just to build up the flow of that there. Exiled in Paradise, Alan Murphy's here. How are you, Alan?
Greetings, Planet Earth. Doing fine.
Atari Leaf is out there in the live stream, a YouTube celebrity. How you doing there, Atari Leaf? And I'm wondering how this guy feels emotionally about being here today. David Ladd, how do you feel about being here and being on the show today?
Well, I'm alive and I'm here. I'm not sleeping, so therefore I must be at least in some form of progress. So hopefully the show will stay on the rails and we'll get to see where everything goes.
You're going to be so disappointed, Dave.
All right. And last but certainly not least, the Thunder from Down Under, the owner of many Ferraris, the maker of a CoCo game every 3 to 4 days. He's like the Jim Gary of CoCo games at this point. Nick Marentes is here. Hello, Nick.
Hello, world.
All right. Well, one of the people here, which we'll get a brief introduction to, who's new to Discord, and by the way, we're going to play Who's New to Discord, but we'll hear a little bit about a project he's working on, and then we do have some updates and acquisitions to talk about, some teasers and other things like that. But Mr. Kevin, your name on Discord is, again, remind us for everybody, it's something 256.
Yeah, it's Dundee 256.
Dundee 256. That's not a knife. That's a knife. So you don't have to give us your whole life story, but if you want to just tell us a little about maybe the project you're working on that brought you to our Discord server or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, so I'm actually, I went back to school for my master's, and for my master's thesis, I am building a pipelined 6809 microprocessor IP. So this is something that would be implemented in a FPGA or a ASIC. And so there are other 6809 microprocessor cores out there that have been used in like the CoCo FPGA and similar. But my approach is a little bit different. I'm actually taking it just the instruction set, and I'm implementing it as fast as I can. So basically, using modern techniques like modern SoC buses, pipelining techniques, micro-coded techniques to essentially get more efficient cycle for cycle, as well as a higher frequency max. I'm basically trying to make it as professional as possible. So like it's open source core, but I'm also doing a full self-checking test bench. I have a friend of mine, Michael Rywalt, is also on the project. So that's what he's working on is the self-checking test bench. So it runs through all the instructions with all the addressing mode combinations and test each one with directed and randomized sequences. So it's not just a hobbyist project. We're trying to really make it something that you guys can use as well as industry. So
that's neat. So people who know how to write 6809 assembly, and George J is doing a series on that, teaching people, you can take those assembly instructions and run it on something modern at wicked fast speeds.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's called Turbo 9, right? Is that the name of the project?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And thank you for joining us on Discord. And hopefully there are some people who are helping you a little bit. And I'm sure what you're working on is going to help others. That's that whole community thing.
Yeah, I appreciate everything that the CoCo community has preserved, because I've definitely a lot of documents and stuff like that I've been able to reference that you guys have preserved for us.
Just out of curiosity, why did you pick the 6809 of all things when you could have picked any processor?
So I come from a history of the HC11, HC12, And as an undergrad, I made a HC12 soft-core processor that was purely multi-cycle. It wasn't pipeline. And so that was like 10 years ago. So over my course of 10 years, in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to do it better. So when I came back to it, I looked at the different 6800 architectures out there and chose the 6809 because it's more powerful, but it's also a little bit more streamlined. Like if you look at like the HC12, you could argue that it's a better instruction set, but there's also a bunch of stuff in the HC12 that is unnecessary. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, we're glad to have you. Go ahead, Ron.
Did you ever own a color computer back in the day?
No, so I think I'm like about 10 years older than 10 years younger than the average CoCo enthusiast. I'm 40, but I actually just bought 2 CoCo 3s a couple months ago, and I haven't set them up.
Did you have to mortgage your house to buy those?
No, luckily I guess it was more than a couple months ago, but it wasn't too bad when I bought them. I know lately they've gone up a lot, so yeah. I haven't actually turned them on yet, and I'm ashamed to admit that, but
that's okay.
Yeah,
well, you're going to want to get an SDC, and
let's not scare the guy away at this point. Now,
no, I have an SDC.
Oh, do you? Look at that!
Yeah. Boise sent me one, and his other friend, he was able to get me a an S-cart to HDMI converter. So I have no excuses.
Okay, there you go. Excellent.
Kevin, would you be willing to come on for a more in-length interview on the project itself sometime in the future?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I have a ton of questions, but I don't want to take up the whole show.
Yeah. We have a lot of show to get to today, and we have a lot of other shows to do. So before we get into the project updates and acquisitions part of that, we're going to do some plugs and promos because there's a lot of stuff coming on here in the next 3 weeks. I've been busy with a lot of stuff around my house, so I haven't been able to be on the show, but I've been behind the scenes on things, and one of the biggest things coming up is our Dragon promo, our Dragon special, which Curtis has been working tirelessly on, and so I have posted that promo out in most of the places. Whether or not you've seen it, you're going to see it again because we're going to run it here. And also we have a Who's New to Discord. So we're going to run a few promo segments and then we'll get into project updates and acquisitions. So let's start off with Who's New to Discord. Oh, crap. Is it under commercials? Where did I put it in my Stream Deck? Okay, I found it. Here we go.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment. Who's new to Discord this week?
Please welcome Gamer Moose Dan. I've been into retro gaming, retro computing scene on forums since 2002. Computer-wise, I've grown up with the CoCo since my dad brought one home back in 1981, declaring it the future. Hobby-wise, I've done a bunch of writing for Digital Press and Video Game Trader magazine. I found the CoCoTALK Discord following a link from the Atari Age forum. Tim Bucas says, I hail from the land of the related dragons. I've been a listener to the podcast for a while. I ran a software house back in the 80s. We only had one Dragon product that made it out the door. Ask me how I learned to have a better backup regime sometime. I have also added a few expansion cards to my fleet of Dragons, and I keep threatening to finish that 6809 code I wrote back in the 80s. Grigo says, I'm here to get advice and get connected with other CoCo users. I have things I want to know about the CoCo as I am inexperienced with them. Ed Rhodes is looking for information on using the VCC emulator. His kid actually showed him how to get the emulators going. John Vela says, I found this Discord server on the CoCoTalk website, which I found from a YouTube comment. My first computer was a Dragon 32, which directly led to my career in IT. And I suspect I will always have a soft spot for that machine. I like meeting new people with shared interests, and I don't take myself too seriously. Brian Walsh found this server when he found CoCoTalk on YouTube. His first computer for his 10th birthday was a CoCo back in 1980, a 4K machine with standard basic. Over the next several years, fell in love with programming and even learned to code a little bit of machine language to speed things up. Also went to several Rainbow Fest and manned the Mitchtron booth, hoping that being a part of this Discord will allow him to more thoroughly enjoy the stroll down memory lane by interacting with people who share passions for 8-bit computing. Pernod Nigel says, I'm the main developer that looks after the Dragon machines. just making myself available here for the upcoming Dragon edition of CoCoTALK. The beta project, Richard, says I mostly work on Dragon preservation with my website. I'm also contributing to the main Dragon archive. Was just talking to Curtis and Steve ahead of the Dragon special, and they suggested I pop in here to see what's going on. Jell found us through Sloopy Malibu and is hoping to learn assembly. Duncan Stiles mostly works CPC and Amiga, but enjoys checking out other systems of the era. He never owned a CoCo, but he does remember trying to convert some basic program from a Dragon to the CPC, which failed. He's got a couple of pals named John and Aaron from the Amigos Retro Gaming, wonder who they are, who put out a podcast called The CoCo Show, and they've asked him if he would join to help keep the CoCo community informed of their latest episodes. I'm pretty sure we know who they are, but glad to have you here. Noctivius, Brandon, I ported the CoCo 3 Balls program Mr. Bjork presented on YouTube to the Vectrex. I'm learning about assembly on the CoCo world seems to have great learning resources for me. Dundee 256 Kevin says I'm developing the Turbo 9 for my master's thesis. It's a Pipeline 6809 processor for the SoC FPGA. Rywalt says I'm working with Dundee 256 and both work on his Turbo 9 project and more software-centric pieces. J. Thurman 9673 James says I grew up with the color computer too in the 80s through the 90s. I decided to get back into the CoCo as a hobby to keep myself sane during local restrictions. I am learning things I did not get to as a kid, such as OS 9. YouTube recommended CoCoTALK during the lockdown last year, and I have been watching since. I am hoping to find answers to questions while relearning the CoCo. And as always, we'd like to give a special thanks to Boyson Technologies, Paul Fiscarelli, Terry Steggy with Data Soup, and our CoCoTALK patrons for boosting the Discord server. You can join us on Discord by going to discord.cocotalk.live.
See y'all on Discord.
Hi, I'm Chris Poacher, and I created the Facebook group Microdo the 8-Bit Years. If you look over my shoulder, you can see I got a near complete collection of all the 8-bit titles released by Microdo from 1981 to 89. I'm from Wales myself, as you can probably guess by my accent. I live just a 10-minute drive from where the Margam Dragon Data Factory used to be, and I'm looking forward to sharing more with you on this special edition of CoCoTALK. Thank you.
Hi, Tim Gilbert here, going to be on CoCoTALK Live with the Dragon Takeover event, and hopefully you'll find out some of the things in this red folder that indicate why. And we live less than 30 miles from where the Dragon 32 was produced, and it was the third computer I bought, probably after the ZX81 and the Spectrum. The premier producer of adventure writing systems like the Quill, Adventure Writer as it was in the US, and quite a few adventure games on other platforms, didn't publish it for the Dragon.
Hi, this is Per Serrat, known for converting the Hobbit, modifying the DOS Plus for the CoCo SDC and Dragon, porting the Infocom Adventures engine for the Dragon, and porting the AGD engine to the 6809 computers, some 219 games.
Hi, I'm Nigel Barnes and I develop for MAME. I usually specialise in emulating Acorn machines, but also anything 8-bit from the UK, which obviously includes the Dragon machines.
Hello, my name is Henry, and I just traded this CoCo for this Dragon.
Hello, I'm Stuart Orchard, and back in the day, I wrote a couple of games for the Dragon Micro.
Hi, I'm Richard, and I'm into preserving Dragon data, and I'll catch you on the Dragon Special.
Hi, this is Roberto Fernandez, and I'm known for software preservation and tools.
Hi there, I'm Simon. My first computer was a Dragon 32. As a result, I enjoy Dragon 32, mostly gaming, and dabbled a bit in basic programming. Well, thank you for allowing me onto this discussion, and look forward to meeting you all.
Can you believe I got this framed? That's how much of.
Okay, looks like you guys just said that the Glenn Dahlgren output was muted, so we'll run that one again. Thanks for letting me know, John Vella. Let's try that again because we do want people to know about that. And that's the last promo, and then we're going to get right back to the show, but we got a lot coming up in the future. I want to make sure we get all that out there. So real quick, take two. This is the Glenn Dahlgren promo spot.
Hi, my name is Glenn Dahlgren. You may know me from a few things that I've done in my past. Let's see if we can figure it out. Maybe it's the PC games that I've done, like Unreal 2 or Wheel of Time. But maybe not. It might be because of the books that I've written, Child of Chaos. I have another one coming up called Game of War. And that's going to be released very shortly. But it's probably not that. I think I know what you might know me from. And that is my CoCo games. Because I ran Sundog Systems for a while in the heyday of the CoCo. Can you believe I got this framed? That's how much of an important piece of my life Sundog Systems was. And I'm going to be on CoCoTALK on Saturday, August 28th from 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 2 p.m. Eastern. So feel free to come and chat, ask me anything you want, or tell me anything you want about the games that I made, or anything. I will see you then.
Right, and that's why I had to superimpose the corrected time because Glenn remembered the time we were on last year. We're an hour sooner this year. So yes, so Glenn will be on the 28th, and we start at 1 p.m. Florida time now instead of 2. So there's our promos. A lot of stuff going on. I don't have another promo, but the week after the Dragon Special, we're having an interview with Stuart Orchard, who very humbly said, "Yeah, I made a few games for the Dragon back in the day, but yeah, he's made some pretty amazing games, and his current project is freaking fantastic." So we're gonna have him on the 21st. An interview with Stuart Orchard, whose current project is called Return of the Beast, which is a very cool kind of Time Pilot 84 style shooter.
Some amazing music for CoCo 1,
and
2,
some
Dragon,
some Amiga SID style title music. So
I love that Amiga SID. That's my favorite sound chip.
The Amiga SID, yeah, the Commodore 64 SID, the Amiga SID, whatever SID you want. You pick your SID. Thank you there. And so let's real quick say hi to who's out there in the live chat. So Kevin Holloway has been out there, 6E Karen, author of X-Roar, Curtis Boyle, Tom Eric Gunderson, Jim Rye, and Alexander Wallace from Mexico, and Mike Miller, David Kraker, Atari Leaf is out there, Ken Reichard, Mark Overholzer, and L. Curtis Boyle, and David Lord is out there, James Jones out there, Mike Miller, John Vella, who we just missed you before because we mentioned you in our new to Discord segment. John, thank you for being here. Atari Leaf, Mark Overholzer, Ken Reichard. You guys are out there. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. So
Atari Leaf, we have to get you on for an interview sometime.
Yes, Atari Leaf, you are an international phenomenon, a celebrity, a legend in our own minds. Love to have you on the show at some point in time. We do have some project updates and acquisitions. Why don't we start off with Rick Euland, who said he had a little something to share, and then we'll get into some of the other announcements and things too. Is that okay, Rick? You mind going first?
Sure. First, thanks to I'm working on that OSK box back there, and I found this thing, which is a
40-pin IDE to SATA. Okay.
So here's my cool new IDE drive for my.
Oh,
OSK
you took
box.
an SSD that you're now turning into a 40-pin IDE. That is
so
nice.
That should be fun. And then let's see. I guess
is that distorting the hobby?
I hope so.
Or do you need to share screen? So I need to stop sharing so you can.
Let me throw.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Real quick.
Feel free.
Okay. So let's share, and I think I can just blank switch desktops on you.
There we go.
Okay, and then I've been writing software for that CoCo.io thing. So here is a web browser running on a CoCo.
Wait a second. If you're reading this page, you probably got some sort of web browser running on your CoCo. We hope it is at CoCo.io, but all users are welcome. Oh, well, look at that.
And it's in the process of downloading this page. It's identified the download links and other page links on it, so we're ready to go there. Unfortunately, I created a bug trying to get the download links working, so that broke.
You introduced a feature.
Exactly. And that broke everything.
Is this in Basic 09?
It is. It's also got bookmarks.
Wow.
So, unfortunately, I've only written one page, so there's not much to bookmark just yet. But it's coming along. I pretty much need to convert the line by line parser into not being Basic 09 to get enough reasonable, to get reasonable speed out of it. But hey, it's it can waddle through HTML 1.1 somewhat and ignore what it doesn't understand. So you can take your style sheets and toss them.
Okay.
But yeah,
we don't need no stinking style.
Yeah, and Basic 9 is excellent for prototyping stuff like this. It's quick and dirty. You can get it done. Just make sure stuff's working.
And I wish I'd saved the. Here's what it looked like about a month ago. So, getting better.
Nice.
And I guess I wish I'd saved the. What was I trying to say? I forgot. It's gone. So I'll just stop sharing.
Well, tell people real quick. Remind those who don't know what is CoCoNet and what will CoCoNet be.
Okay, so this CoCo.io thing is just
CoCo.io. Yes, CoCo.io. Yes.
It is a Ethernet card for CoCo. It doesn't require a host computer or anything. Just plug it into your. It's unfortunately not wireless, but.
Right.
But yeah, it's a ROM pack thing with a network port on top.
Now, was it also going to have some type of serial too, or is it just going to be network?
It's got serial. It's kind of an impasse right now. The serial I thought would be easy because it's 16550, which is the same serial port as I made back in '97. Unfortunately, the new chip isn't sending out interrupts when it gets received data, and I don't have I don't have the source, the original driver, so I can't figure out if it's a software problem or a hardware problem. I can see the chip's receiving data. I can see it's not sending out an IRQ. Works on send, so the 25-year-old driver works just fine for sending, but not for receiving. So
I have got your last driver there partially disassembled and commented. I haven't finished yet because I've been busy with a lot of other things like the Dragon Talk special, but let me get back to that and I'll send you the source and maybe that'll help.
Well, and,
sweet. Oh.
Yeah, so just real quick too, before we go on to a few more people, you just made me think of something. I was having lunch the other day with some guys in my Florida Retro Club, and one of the Apple enthusiasts there was asking about CoCo networking, because apparently there were Apple-based network. Apple had something like a token ring network even on the Apple IIs, and so there were some period correct networking applications on the Apple. Was there ever CoCo network applications that ran over an actual sort of pseudo Ethernet type network, or was it mostly just the kind of Telnet serial OS9?
Serial's what I remember. There was a K9Q which actually featured Telnet, FTP, mail, and a bunch of other things, but it was running SLIP protocol on a modem basically.
Right. There's the problem with the WizNet chip. It changes your internet into just a serial stream. Unfortunately, it's not a FIFO. It's a certain size buffer, and you have to manually wrap starting and ending addresses as you run past the end of the buffer and start over from the beginning. So there's room for some middleware there, but it leaves space for instance, using serial download protocols to download files. I'm hoping to use SCRZ to download Zmodem by just managing what I feed that. So it has room to grow, I think. Let's see, am I still on I can share mode? Yeah,
You can still share. Yeah.
Here's the product itself.
Okay.
So we have a serial port, we have an Ethernet port, and takes up 8 bytes of I/O space. So you could theoretically stick 2 of them in a CoCo and be really cheap. The idea being you could use the serial for drive wire,
right,
and keep the 4 sockets that you have Ethernet for.
Right. So if somebody was using an RS-232 card already in a multi-pack, this would replace that slot and give you your same serial connectivity plus Ethernet.
Exactly, and then the four sockets that you have on Ethernet can, the web browser needs one. Downloading the file, you need another one. Want to run a DNS, you need another one. So, you could run out of Ethernet really quick. So anyway, that's where I'm at. It's still moving forward. I've got a little bit of a hardware problem, but nothing that's fatal, I don't think.
Okay.
And
Also got a comment from Mark Siegel, of course, worked for Tandy on the CoCo and stuff back in the day. And he mentions there was a token ring for OS 9, but it was not brought to market. And that actually, we've seen the prototype of that at some of the Rainbow and CoCo Fests there. I think, can't remember who has it now, but yeah.
I have the worst digitization of that prototype you've ever seen from one of the old Offenhawk days. Yeah, it was pretty funky. Use twin lead.
So getting back to the question then too, is this there really wasn't proper CoCo networking, therefore weren't a lot of network-centric applications or utilities that existed back in the original time span of the color computer. Is that fairly accurate?
Just basically those slip-based, serial protocols.
But we are now living in a time, thanks to things like DriveWire and these Wi-Fi modems and things like that, where we can now use the internet. And we are working on multi-user, multiplayer type stuff for the color computer. And I guess a current similar thing to that would be Boise's Gitara project, right? Where I'm not sure if it's exactly a network or if it's more of but the Gitara project does allow multiple CoCos to kind of be in a ring topology almost, right? But I don't know if that's networking
it's
or
like Token Ring.
similar to Token Ring. So there is something coming on now with the Gitara project, and then that game that Jay Cyril and Brett Gordon are working on, that's going to be multiplayer CoCo 3 game using DriveWire or whatever as the kind of conduit for that. So I guess there will be networking in the future, but there really wasn't true CoCo networking in the past.
No, except for that prototype that Mark mentioned, because that was at Microware, and they did have drivers kind of done from what I understand, but they never decided to bring it to market. So
gotcha. And thanks for stopping by, Mark Siegel. Love to have you on sometime too, if you'd like to come join us.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Rick, for sharing that. And then we also had Bill and Pedro who want to show some stuff off. Who would like to go first?
Doesn't matter to me.
Bill, go ahead.
All right, Bill, because you're so polite, eh? Well, go ahead and we'll hear what you have to say.
Okay, well, as many of you know, that I've been working with Curtis on Nitrous 9 Ease of Use project for the last few years, and I've always had an issue with the way OS 9 was actually handling the graphic screens for external use like games and things like that. Mainly because when you actually map in a set of blocks, your program actually has to go through the system, probably about 4 system calls before you actually get your memory blocks mapped into your own process space. So I've been actually working for quite a while trying to find the best way to actually handle this. So I researched through a bunch of the old source code listings for various games that are around, and one of them came to my attention real quick. It was actually Kuyum Guy, where Kevin Darling actually ported it to OS 9. And well, Kuyum Guy, of course, is the Glenn Dahlgren project that he did for Sundog Systems whenever it was, I can't remember.
88 or 89, yep.
80, and once Kevin actually did that port, I noticed between that game and the other games in OS 9 that it was actually doing double buffering on the screens. And I was going, well, how is he doing that? So I actually went into the source code and I actually looked exactly what Kevin did to actually do it. And I found that he had an actual MMU manager that will actually localize your own process space to have full control over the MMU without interacting or interfering with OS 9 in any way. And the speed that it has is just phenomenal, because you're actually changing the MMU within your process space live on the system without doing any system calls. So you can actually a good way to actually do it here is, do I got to share screen here, Steve? Or
You can. You just look for the green button that says share screen.
yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna come on, switch over. There we go. Is this coming through or?
Not yet. Oh wait, starting.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay, so what you see on the screen here is the actual main core of the MMU, or memory management system.
Mm-hmm.
It is one routine that actually will remap all 8 of the 8K blocks in your process space live without touching OS 9 altogether. Because each process in OS 9 actually has its own process descriptor, which contains what 64K memory blocks are allocated to that process space each. So basically what Kevin did was he actually looked for the actual process descriptor for your actual local process in memory, and actually grabbed pointers to that DAT image or MMU set of registers and modifies it live in the process descriptor without interacting OS 9 altogether, and OS 9 wouldn't even know that you changed the actual local process descriptor for its memory arrangement. So that will allow you to actually have full buffering systems on the screen. In Kevin's case in Kuyum Guy, he actually set up 3 graphic screens to do the different graphics in Kuyum Guy. But for my project that I have going on right now, it actually only uses 2 graphic screens for the double buffering, so that you can get rid of the video tearing when you're doing a lot of sprite updates on the screen. So basically, it actually localizes the memory management within your own process space, that you don't actually have to do the system calls to OS 9 to actually do any of this mapping in and mapping out, which saves tremendous amount of time. So as you can see here, the entire routine for switching out the 64K task in your own process space is right on the screen right now. The whole routine.
Let me ask you a couple of hopefully not too dumb questions, but to make this an analogy to something that non-CoCo people might be familiar with, would this be similar to like maybe be able to running an MS-DOS game on top of Windows 95, say? Because those games could write directly to the hardware still?
In a way, yes, because it's actually still directly writing to the hardware and also to your process descriptor at the same time.
Okay, so it literally is a hybrid then. It's not like running.
Yeah, it's a hybrid where it's actually doing both at the same time. So it updates the process descriptor, then it updates the hardware to the MMU that you want, so that OS 9 itself will not know that you actually did any changes. It just sees that process descriptor and says, oh, these were the memory banks it gets. Okay, that's what it gets. And it does the rest.
Yep. But you're changing those on the fly. So, I mean, if you want to map in a screen really quick, because normally you have to go through a bunch of system calls, which has like software interrupt overhead and a whole bunch of other crap that slows it down.
Usually on like a mapping 1 8K block actually goes to the system probably 4 times before you actually get that process or that 8K memory block into your actual process space. So I've always found that when I was actually doing any sort of mapping a block using the OS 9 system calls, I would actually have to sleep for a couple of ticks before the process descriptor actually got updated. Whereas this way, it's immediate. You don't touch OS 9 whatsoever. You're basically...
I'll give you an example. The bouncing ball demo that's on Ease of Use, the one that Kevin Darling wrote with the Mona Lisa picture up in the corner, that actually does have a sleep of 2 ticks, so basically 1/30th of a second to let the mapping settle, because as Bill said, it goes through multiple things to get all that stuff mapped the legal way, quote unquote. So that actually has a slip, because if you take that sleep tick out, it actually does tear a little bit. You'll see it kind of shifts and it kind of catches it mid switch type thing. So this would eliminate all of that. So you could actually run a full 60 frame per second game with no tearing at all.
Yes.
So the upside seems obvious when you can write direct to hardware. This is like getting into the benefits of RS-DOS, right? When you do it in RS-DOS, you could write direct to hardware. Back in the days of MS-DOS, the MS-DOS games could write direct to hardware. They didn't have to go through Windows and drivers and all that kind of stuff. So the upside when you write direct to hardware is obviously speed, performance. What's the downside? When you say things like Nitrous 9 has no idea what you're doing, can you possibly contaminate something it might want to use for something else because it didn't know you were, playing in this particular sandbox that it might want to access later on?
No. And the reason why that is because this little routine only changes the actual memory manager, which is the actual 8K banks that get mapped into a process space. So it actually does that directly on its own and does the change without interacting with OS 9. But OS 9 will still know what you did.
OS 9 knows basically what pages in memory you're blasting graphics to.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, if you're looking at the code here, you'll see there's two loops. You'll see deck B is kind of where the loop counters are. So the first one, I'm not sure which one's which here, but basically what it does is it'll copy the MMU, the 8K block map directly to the gimme itself. So that makes the immediate change. Yeah, and then it goes into the process
descriptor. That's actually the second part.
Okay.
The first part
and the
is
process
actually
descriptor does the one where it updates for OS 9 to know what's going on. So that when task switching happens, it's actually got the new map ready to go too. So it doesn't interfere with OS 9's multitasking. Also, the advantage of doing this is we get the speed of this basic program, but multitasking still works perfectly fine.
Yes. And also, with this memory manager as well, you can actually still use everything from OS 9 for system calls.
Like disk I/O, serial I/O, mouse pointers, all that kind of stuff.
Mouse pointers, graphic
high-level menu handlers, drop-down menus.
All the fonts, everything that are built for OS 9 already, all can be reused.
Does this require source code to be changed and things to be recompiled, or is this to really take advantage of this?
Its own memory manager localized to your own process. So basically, OS 9 will have its little memory manager unit going to handle all the different processes, all the different hardware, so on and so forth. Whereas this only modifies your own local process space. So you're actually only dealing with your own information versus modifying anything else in OS 9.
But I think what Steve's asking, this would have to be implemented for each program you want to run this way. This wouldn't be one generic routine that gets called by everything.
This isn't like what you're doing, Curtis, to optimize the graph libs and things that speed up everything automatically. This is
this is a bit more specialized, yeah. It'd be for high-speed games, or it's something you really want to access the screen, or something else. It doesn't have to be
so
screen.
let's pick a game that you already have in there. Let's just say Thexter, which I know Thexter is already fast. And but if I wanted to take this concept and speed something up that's already in the ease of use project, do I have to recompile something to make this work, or
you'd basically insert this routine and then replace any select escape code sequences? Basically, select the window to display.
When you say you're not saying me, because I would never actually do that. But yeah, but somewhat. Yeah. But this is not. You're not going to go through and re-optimize and recompile what's already on the distribution I'm taking in, right?
Yeah.
No, this would be specialized. I mean, basically, the games right now that do direct screen writes that use the legal calls, like Dexter, like Shanghai, Flight Sim 2, etc. They do a legal quote unquote display call to tell it to switch to the next window. The bouncing ball time was another one, but that one needs that extra sleep tick to make sure that all the back and forth from the operating system has been done before it displays the screen. Otherwise, you get tearing. So most of those are actually frame limited to 30 frames per second right now. With this one here, if you wanted to do a full 60 game, go for it.
Okay, but basically, this is almost like you have to write something from scratch to do this, or recompile something else.
Yes.
This is not like a changing a driver to make everything fast.
Yeah, it's not built into OS.
Gotcha.
9.
Okay, so
you
this is
have to do your own manipulation of the memory and also of the screens themselves.
Okay, but this might be something where somebody like, let's just say theoretically Nick Marentes, who would never do something for Nitrous 9, might say, well, if we can get you the direct hardware graphic speed and we got you another Ferrari, maybe would you do a Nitrous 9 something or another, right? So
well, here Nick goes. This little memory manager does it all.
Right.
You can even animate the trash can in Retail.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you know as you switch it? I use the same routines on RS-DOS. How do you know what's available, which 8K blocks are available that Nitrous OS 9 isn't using? What do you know when they're available?
OS 9 itself actually has system calls where you can actually get the entire memory available on your currently running system.
Okay, so you go out and ask
one
it
system call will bring in the entire OS 9 memory map, block by block, and actually tell you which ones are allocated and which ones aren't.
Right, so then you pick out the number that you want and you tell OS 9, I'm going to be using these off someplace all by myself.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to do that, George. I mean, one is with video, you just tell, I want to assign a window or something, and then you just basically you get returned. We have a system call where you can say, hey, the 4 8K blocks for your screen are over here, and then you can map them in using this technique. There's also the VRN driver has the ability for you to reserve blocks of up to 9 MMU contiguous blocks, and you can open separate paths if you want more than one set of these, and you can allocate memory for sound samples or whatever else, or graphics, whatever else. You can actually legally go through the operating system itself to say, I need to reserve this much memory for this and this much memory for this, which goes through OS 9. So OS 9 is fully aware of all this stuff. And you would do that in the setup of a game like this.
Right. Okay.
Which I actually have on screen right now, Rick. This is actually where it loads up some of the graphics images. Here, I actually tell OS 9 I want 1 8K block. It allocates the RAM. I save that block number, and then I actually map it in to my actual process space, open a file that actually contains the graphic information, get the size of it, read it in to where I map it, close the file, and away it goes. You carry on for whatever else you want. And then like on the next routine where I actually, I load the one screen on or terrain buffer. Now I actually load a title screen, doing it the same way, where I actually get the block number of the screen, whichever screen buffer I'm going to, either 1 or 2, get the actual screen mapped into memory, open the file, skip past any header information, because in this particular case, I'm using VEF files. Read the entire title screen in, close the file, and I got to sleep in here just so I actually can see the title screen on the screen for a few seconds. and basically for what it does right now.
DOD, I'm wondering if this is going to be Dungeons.
You'll see what it's going to be.
Is this the Department of Defense? The Department of Defense. Is that what we're dealing with here?
You're hacking the Pentagon again, aren't you, Bill?
Damn it, Bill.
Yeah. So basically,
Depths of Diablo. I was thinking Dungeons of Daggerath, but okay, this is good too. Depths of Diablo. Oh, look at that. Nice.
So that basically you can see how fast it actually goes between the screens.
Yeah, look at that. Beautiful.
Did you want to sneak peek some of the graphics, like view a VF or not yet?
I can do, yes. These are actually some of the graphic tiles that I have built so far already.
Well, I'm seeing
now,
some
a lot
weird
of them
contamination.
We're not seeing it. Crosshatches right now.
Might need to share the screen versus an app.
I shared the app, not the screen. Here, we'll just switch over to this one.
Ooh!
Holy crap! You got a lot of tiles.
And that's just they are colorful too. They're very colorful tiles.
Yeah. Now this particular image I actually took from Ultima 5 on the PC, which actually had the perfect tile size of what I wanted, Plus, it had a lot of the colorful images, because most of the actual sprite games that I've seen in Nitrous 9 for things like that, they were always like a 1-color or 2-color sprite. This particular system actually has 4 colors per sprite.
Very
So
nice.
You can actually get a lot of different things in there already.
That sure puts my hand-drawn graphics for my game to shame, boy.
Well, I still actually do the actual conversion because, like, I haven't actually found an image editor on a PC or Linux or anything like that that has less than 256 colors nowadays. So everything is 256 colors or up to 32-bit color nowadays. And I just was, that's too complicated to do all the code,
Right.
to convert all that. So I just said, I'm just going to find what I want for image-wise. Then I actually hand code it using my own tile editor, which I'll switch back to.
We can see your VCC if you want to just run it from this screen.
Oh, is it there?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. Because I thought I just shared the app.
Did you just hit clear there to open up another terminal?
You betcha.
See, he could be playing the game and still do this. Look at
Tile
the code
editor.
So I wrote a little tile editor that I can actually. Let's just load up one of them.
Ah, look at
That's one
that.
of the images there.
That's nice, Bill.
So it gives you the original view, the current view. So if you change anything in this window right now, it'll actually update the current but leave the original alone. So if you want to back out of whatever you're changing, you can. Now this file or this program I actually wrote so that it will actually handle anywhere from a 2x2 sprite all the way up to a 24x24 pixel sprite. With
16 colors. Nice. That's nice, Bill.
And of course, I have built into my color set already. A palette 0 is strictly for
transparency. Yeah. The future of OS 9 graphical gaming is bright.
Getting there. Oh, and of
VCC
course,
has stopped working.
Yeah, I get that occasionally too.
That's because you're running the Windows virus. So.
Yes. The only reason why I use VCC is because I can crank the CPU speed up to maximum and I can assemble it real quickly.
This looks really good, Bill.
Yes.
This looks cool. Yeah, I just got the latest.
The actual game design itself that I'm working on is kind of based on the original Diablo series from Blizzard Entertainment on the PC.
Okay.
I'm actually converting it into a CoCo 3 style. Has all the same things and all the same images and everything. Because I actually happen to have
the package
there.
Yeah.
Which is the whole manual for Diablo 2, which gives you all the character properties, all the actual object, all the quests, everything from the actual original.
The strategy guide, aka cheat book.
Yes.
Yes, which most of these games were unplayable without the cheat book because.
Well, Diablo was a good one where you always could finish it without.
Yeah.
Just that this gave you all the little secrets of where
certain
things were.
all the bonus pick. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I love to play a game where you kind of just discover and you learn by accident. Where I don't like a game where you need the book to finish it, but I would use the book when I got stuck. Where like when my wife was playing Final Fantasy, she literally had the book on her lap and she had to play the game by the book and flip pages. And I'm like, to me, that's not playing a game. That's following a book, So, but yeah, those strategy guides that was a racket, man. It was a whole racket. You couldn't finish certain games without them. All right, there we go. Yeah, I have this running on CoCo Pi right now, the latest ease of use with hardware real-time clock emulated. It's a beautiful thing. And I noticed, like you say, you're overclocking your VCC, so that booted up pretty quick, yeah?
Yeah. The only reason why I do that is just for development, for assembling. programs, because on a real CoCo, it's kind of slow because ASM goes through its little thing, and of course, it's not that great for speed. But with VCC and cranking up the CPU speed, I can get a reasonable, workable environment.
Right.
Yeah, for smaller projects, it's fine doing it just natively, even on the CoCo. I do some of the smaller things on there too, especially with the Gimme X, because that boosts it up a little bit. But yeah, this is like running LWASM basically in another window and then copying it over type thing. It runs this quick. And since Bill and I are both like old dogs, no new tricks type thing, we're just used to the way the old assembler works.
I'm used to the old assembler just because I know all its little quirks and all of its little tricks, and like LWASM. In order to get it all up and running, which I do have, but I just find it too much of a pain to get it from LWASM final build back onto an OS9 disk, back onto a CoCo. Whereas this is just boom, it's there, away I go.
Right, you're dealing with the source. You're dealing with the destination, I should say. Actually, you're working on the destination. So
yeah. So
cool stuff.
Getting back to the actual MMU core, it basically is split up so that your very first 8K block in your process space is your actual data area, which is common to all your memory mappings. The very top 8K of your program is the actual core itself, and then all of the blocks in between you can modify and change to whatever you want. It can be either code, it can be data, it could be anything.
Graphics, sound samples, screens.
Sound samples, all kinds of different things.
So what you're showing off here is a revelation to Nitrous 9, but is this what people who are writing stuff for RS-DOS are already doing?
In most cases, yes, because of that double buffering system that they can do in RS-DOS quickly.
But they all kind of had to invent their own respective wheels, where you now have a common set of wheels for anybody in Nitrous 9 to use.
The biggest advantage of doing it this way, and of course this is going to pump out Nitrous 9 because that's what we do, is that basically, like, Nick, sometimes, you want to make something work for, say, saving high scores or loading data files or something like that. Well, if you're doing it in RS-DOS, most of the time you got to worry about trying to fit it on a floppy disk sized image. Or, it may not run on DriveWire because you did direct calls to the disk controller, or all these other various things. Because Nitrous 9 has all that stuff abstracted, you don't have to write any of the code to handle disk stuff. You don't have to write any of the code to handle memory management. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's all right there. Just make a system call, change a few registers, on entry, like an API call under Windows, and it just does all that stuff for you. So the stuff that would be tedious and you have to write and make sure it's compatible with the DriveWire and real hardware and a real hard drive and all that stuff, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. That's just all handled by the OS itself. You can concentrate on the game. You don't have to concentrate on those other crap.
I can hear Nick Marty saying, but what's the fun in that?
Well, but you can write a web browser in BASIC.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. Rick kind of proved the point, too. So
right.
Nick's just wrong. This is space facts.
No, listen. 16 Ferraris and counting can't be all that wrong.
That's right.
Yeah, but he could be having you could be having Lamborghinis if you did it this way. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Hello, Protein Thread, and goodbye, Atari Leaf, in the live chat saying we got one coming, one going.
You got?
So I actually, in this particular case too, I also have one secondary code page, which is basically a loader module, which will load all the graphics and everything as a subroutine module. So basically, it links it in, finds out where that program is stored in memory, maps that block in, executes it, comes out of it, clears the MMU, and goes back to your main engine core. And this here gives you the memory layout when this program enters, which is the subroutine module. So the first block is my fixed data area. Block 1 is this module. The other 6 are blank. And final block 7 is the engine core itself, which is the MMU core, and also I'm thinking of putting some of the graphics core for swapping the double buffering screens in that section as well.
Cool stuff. Cool. And I think Pedro said he had to step away for a minute. I'm not sure how much more time did you have to show off here, Bill. Are you still going?
No, I'm pretty much done now. Just because I basically wanted to show the beginnings of what I have, and what I've actually found out with this memory manager, what it's capable of, and how powerful it is.
So
and how simple it is. That was a genius of Kevin Darling. I mean, that guy knew nitrous. He knew OS9 better than either of us, to be honest.
And then
when I looked at that code, I'm going, God, excuse the French, but God damn, is this guy a genius?
Les damites. Yeah. So in the weeks to come, will you have some little eye candy things to show us? Here's how wicked fast it is and stuff.
Yes.
Some
I'm hoping actually. I'm
whiz bang demos.
Let the Dragon special go for the next couple. What is it? 3 weeks.
We have about 3 weeks of
interviews. Yeah.
3 weeks of superb content.
That'll give me enough time to actually get the actual graphics core in place for printing fonts and some of the core sprite routines.
Now I notice you have the GIMP on your desktop there, and Karen was saying that this is one of those GNU utilities that should let you change your bit depth pretty easily. So I'm not sure how.
It doesn't allow you to go below 256.
Oh, okay. So you can't get it to like 6-bit color.
No.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would love GIMP because it is a great program.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's exciting that that we'll see something like that in the near future. Nitrous 9 just keeps getting betterer all the time, so that's cool stuff. And
yeah, for those who are wondering about the next version of EOU, it is going to be a bit later because Bill and I both have these side game projects because we want to push Nitrous 9 limits and see what other improvements we should put in the operating system itself for this kind of thing. So be patient.
And taking a break from Nitrous 9 and getting on to some more fun stuff.
Right. Cool. Well, we have another announcement / update from Pedro. Hello, Pedro.
Hello, everybody. You guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So I actually don't know where to start, but I guess I'll just start with a while back, not that long ago, I did a CoCo 2 board, a way to give back, to the CoCo that got me, started in tech. It was very, very, very influential. So I still feel like I got to give back, and so I'm reacquainting myself with CoCo. And so I went out and I did a CoCo 2 board, and I liked it. It worked. I was excited. But as I'm learning more, and I'm more and more in the community, I see that what people really want to see a lot is the CoCo 3. I said, well, I want to get a CoCo 3. I want to get one, but man, they're so expensive. So I've been trying for several months to buy one, but you gotta like sell a kidney or something, get one of these CoCos. And so I was like, well, maybe it's. I know I want to make a CoCo 3 board, and maybe I just make one, and then figure out how to get a gimme later on. So I started doing that, and then I actually thought, well, I got to figure out how to get a gimme, and I traded an HDMI board, the RGB to HDMI project.
Right.
With C Doris, Chris Doris on CoCo Discord, for his gimme. He had a gimme, and when I traded, I was like, oh, yeah, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna make the CoCo 3, hopefully, and I can, whatever. But then shortly after, I was able to buy a spare parts CoCo 3 that somebody was selling on eBay, and then I bought that, and it was an easy repair. Thank God. It was just the salt chip needed to be replaced, on, and I had one of those boards that I had made, to get it up running. So then now it's like, well, great, now I have a reference board, that I can use to start making it. And so I want to share my screen here. Can I start sharing?
Yeah. Is there any way you can get your volume to come up a little bit too? Because you're I don't know if you can get closer to your microphone or not, but you're coming in a little bit low.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can do that here.
But yeah, you should be able to share.
Is that better?
Not really.
No, about the same.
It's about the same. We can hear you there. Everybody just tune your ears in.
I'll speak louder.
All right.
Okay, so me share my entire desktop here. Okay.
Yes.
You guys see it? Okay, good. And so I said, well, you know, I sort of had a roadmap already. And I said, I did the CoCo 2, so I'm just going to take the CoCo 2 schematic. And, you know, I'll show you that. This is kind of when I came up. And I based it, you know, off of, you know, this schematic, which, you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. Very helpful, very clean. You know, whoever did this, CoCo, I think is his name. And also I used, you know, the one out of the service manual. And so I took the CoCo 2 schematic that I had done, and luckily it was the CoCo 2 and CoCo 3 are very similar in terms of, you know, how everything is connected. You know, obviously the gimme is where the big difference is. And so I just went in and started rewiring the schematic I already had. And so the big changes were, you know, where the SAM, where I had the SAM chip, now there's a gimme. You know, here's the, you know, the symbol for the gimme chip that I drew up. And then sort of, I sort of started organizing in little subsections I thought made sense. And, you know, I don't know if it makes sense completely, but, you know, this is sort of how I structured it. And then I said, well, you know, now I need to make a board. And I want to follow, you know, what I did with the CoCo 2. So I'm going to try and make a duplicate board, a drop-in replacement. And then so, you know, the initial reason why I did the CoCo 2 and the same for the CoCo 3 was to contribute to the Bit Preserve project that was started by the bald engineer, James Lewis. And so he's done a great job. He's put this project out there for people to contribute and, you know, transcribe these old schematics to a usable form, you know, in an open source EDA platform, so that, you know, preserve it for future use and to do things with it. And so that was my initial sort of, you know, why I wanted to do it. So then I was like, well, he asked the question and said, well, how do you confirm that the schematic is actually good? And so I thought, well, I guess the best way to do it is to actually make a board. Okay, so I did that with the CoCo 2, made the board and confirmed that that schematic was good. So I was like, well, I'm going to follow this roadmap. I'm going to do that with the CoCo 3. And so I've done quite a bit, actually. And here I'll show what I have so far. I'll bring up the PCB view here. And so I actually have a board here that I've drawn up. And I'm going to get this out of the way here. Let me turn off the copper layers here so you can see.
Are we looking at the top or the bottom of it right now?
This is the top of the board.
Okay, so the gimme is not in the same spot, but I guess theoretically it doesn't matter.
It's more or less in the same spot.
Is it?
Yeah. So you know, actually, I'll show you what I did. And so I took an image of the board layout from the manual, and actually I printed it out, straightened it out, and then scanned it back in. And then I brought it into the program, and so this stuff is generally in the same place, not the exact same place.
No, I don't know why, but I thought the gimme was up more towards the center right side of the stuff, but I haven't looked at a CoCo 3 in a while. I do see the kind of L-shaped area where the memory expansion board would go, so that looks like that's in a fairly
yeah, I'm hoping
consistent
it's close.
place. Yeah.
I'm hoping it's close. I mean, I have my I'm measuring, you know, and doing stuff like here.
Now, here, this would be kind of interesting because for the people who have to do the 512 and 2 meg upgrades, they've got to clip a capacitor to do that. If you could make that a jumper,
exactly
where they wouldn't have to clip it, that would be probably helpful.
And you know, and I didn't know you had to clip capacitors until the other day when I ordered a triad board to do the 512 memory upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to upgrade the CoCo that I have, the CoCo 3, but at the same time, I'm going to use it to measure before I order the board to make sure, you know, these
right.
And so when I saw, when I read, you know, the upgrade procedure about clipping the capacitors, I was like, wow, I just, you know, there's a jumper that you just don't solder, you know, once you get the board, or maybe you cut the jumper because you have it made with those jumpers actually, you know, open or close. You can solder or cut them, whatever, and then resolder them later. But I haven't decided how I'm going to do that part yet.
And you'll have stuff like the CPU socketed too, right?
And so, yeah, so here, let me show you.
Yeah, having the CPU with like a through hole socket versus the soldered CPU would help for people who want to do a 6309 instead of a 6809.
Well,
With no
I'm
soldering
planning on
required.
socketing everything.
You're socketing everything.
And as soon as
Yeah,
it's
socket to me.
Yeah, socket to me. No, well, my computer's a little slow right now.
Oh, that's cool.
We should see a 3D.
Something is okay. Yeah, there we go. Oh, look at that! Woohoo! Motherboard porn. Look at this.
Yeah. One for CoCo Greeks.
That is awesome, dude.
So it didn't take much effort to get it to render this, and I think it's worth it because it really lets you see, how it's going to look and how things are spaced.
Now, is that empty space there? Is that where the RF modulator goes? Because that's a complete waste of time, in my opinion.
That is the RF can. That's where it goes. And like I said initially, my initial goal is to contribute to the Bit Preserve project. So I felt that I should keep that there. And besides, I don't even have a working board yet. I don't know if it's going to work. I got to troubleshoot it. So I want to make it as close as possible, to the original, so that I can use the service manual to troubleshoot and get it to work.
Right.
But once that's done, I agree, waste of space, all sorts of cool stuff can go there. That's real estate that needs to be used for something else.
We have to get Ed Snyder to send you a GameX at some point for testing on this too.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I would love to. I mean, and again, this is open source, and if he wants it, he can get it. I'm not, if he wants to mess with it too, but, and if he sends me a GameX, fantastic. I would love to play with one. And that's another, some might be asking, well, why are you doing this? These things don't break all that much, right? I guess, I don't know. But I guess if people upgrade the GameXs, you're going to have all these, this and CoCo gimmies lying around.
Yeah, hand me down. There's going to become a secondary market for hand me down gimme chips, right? So,
Now, the CoCo 3 has a salt chip too, doesn't it?
It has a salt chip, it does. And
now, have you thought about replacing that because the availability?
Yeah, he's been designing one. We've been showing his videos for a while.
So I call it the pepper board, and it completely, from all the testing I've done, it completely replaces the salt chip. It does the voltage regulation. It does the RS-232 communications. And it can plug in, but in the next revision of the board, you don't even need a socket for the salt chip. This circuitry could just be put in there. There really isn't much to it.
Karen was asking from the Dragon perspective, what's the project for the motherboard preservations? What's that called again?
Bit Preserve.
Bit Preserve, Karen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Bit Preserve. Let me see. Well, I can put it in the chat a little bit.
No, that's cool. That's cool because, and here's the thing: if people are saying, how could I upgrade my CoCo 2 to a CoCo 3? Because the case is pretty much the same, right?
No, the board. It depends. So there are a bunch of different types of CoCo 2s. And, I have one. Actually, the board that I made is larger than this one, considerably larger. And so it won't fit. And I do have another CoCo. It is it's the one that has the 2 DRAM chips instead of the 8. I forget what model it is, but it's closer in size, but still not the same. So, but what is possible, if this works, is that we can take the board design and just change the board layout. The same components, same circuit.
Right.
Fit an old CoCo 2, right? And then you have a CoCo 2 case with the CoCo 3 on the inside. But then like, well, really, I'm sure some people will be like, oh,
hey, you still need some case mods like the composite ports. There isn't that on the CoCo 2 and
right. Exactly. Well,
the RGB connector in the bottom, etc.
The RGB connector can be moved. Another thing that can be done, for example, is, and I was thinking, if you have, if you're okay with it, you can remove the ports over here, the joystick ports and the I/O port, and all these ports back here, and have them come out just one high density DIN connector out to another board, right?
Right. That would free up space.
That breaks these out again.
Right, and even like where the RF can is too, have a high density output there, and look a little mini DIN that would come out of that single where that coaxial connection was. That hole's already kind of drilled. You just make a little mini DIN that goes in there and have that break out into other things.
Yeah.
Like audio, video, things like that. Yeah.
Things like that can be done, and then that just opens up the space to put in, like other things. Maybe even since it's open source as well, maybe even a built-in. I don't know if it makes sense with CoCo 3, but like an HDMI, RGB to HDMI circuitry.
Sure.
You pop in a Raspberry Pi, and then you have HDMI out, stuff like that. So things can be done.
Would that include a real-time clock and a on light?
So, I don't know how. I think I asked Curtis one time. If it was a real thing, if people did want an RTC, or is that like a running joke, or is it both, or whatever?
A little bit of both.
I think there is a potential for it, and and maybe this is being used already. I just don't know. I'm relatively new to the community, but if I show you the schematic here, okay, and if we go, to let me see, the Gimme, for example, right? You got a demux here, right? You got 3 select lines coming out of the Gimme, right? You got 4 unused lines that can be potentially used to select another device. I don't know how easy it is to use those select lines on the Gimme, or it's impossible. But I mean, that's a waste in my opinion. Was it, was there a plan to ever, have stuff connected on here that you could address? And also on, let me see, on one of the PIAs, I think it's IC4. Yeah, on this one, you have 4 unused lines on the 6821. And that can be used as well for stuff. So I think there's a little bit of room in there to add things like that, one way or another. So maybe that can be done with another revision of this.
Now I know this first generation is designed to be drop-in replacement, but would a future one maybe be able to support like a low voltage USB powered power supply or something like that too, to simplify connectivity and everything else? Or
I think USB-C can power this, because I don't think it draws more than 2 amps. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. I think USB-C can power 2 amps. Maybe when you plug things in. I've never used an MPI. Maybe I don't know.
Because that would free up some space too, where the power supply is at too. If you could get rid of that old transformer and replace that with something modern, that would free up space inside the case for something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you don't want your old CoCo 3 case, let's say you can redesign the board to fit, like an ATX style.
Right, which is kind of what Ed Snyder did with his first kind of CoCo 2 clone. It was just a square motherboard. It was not meant to match or fit anything, but it was just minimal PCB space to get it all in there.
Yeah.
There's lots of options. And this is compelling because, there's the people who like things like the Mister or an FPGA or something else, but this is now real hardware. And the few things that were not previously available, like the Salt chip and the Gimme, well, we have modern versions of that. So the fact that we could make a brand new, pretty much real hardware CoCo with maybe a few FPGA pieces, but still using a 6809 or 6309 and all these things, that's kind of interesting to people who are a little bit more hardware purists.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think now we have the potential to make a new CoCo, to add a CoCo to the world, because, the Salt chip, it can be replaced with something like, the board that I made.
Right.
Yes, the only chip on here right now that I see that can be made, and I showed in a video that, you can do it thanks, Karen helped me out. He told me about the R2R ladder, to make the sound on the Dragon, is the 77526 chip, right, which is the DAC. And I think that can be easily, I think it's also low-hanging fruit like the Salt chip. That can be re-implemented because the 2 PIAs are still available. There are modern replacements that you can buy.
Okay.
And then so you have the Gimme X.
Right.
With the Gimme X and everything else you can still buy.
Right.
So, that's exciting. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah, so this is really serving 2 purposes. I mean, one, you'll have the standard CoCo 3 replacement board, so people have a damaged board or just don't want to pay $300-400 for an eBay CoCo 3. They will have that option, and then you can tweak the design for other cases and then start adding extra features, extra hardware, like Gimme X's or sound chips or whatever else you want to do.
Throw in a
real-time clocks,
6502 and a ZX.
Well, let's not downgrade it here. Come on.
Z80 and.
Or if you have a broken Commodore, you just put this in.
Put the SID chip in there. They pull one of those SID chips out of the Amiga, right, and put that in there. So.
That's what I do.
no SID chip in an Amiga.
Yeah, I know. I screwed up earlier.
that's the joke.
That's a callback.
Yeah. You gotta stay awake, Nick, during the show. There, you've been caught up on that joke.
That's cool, Pedro. You're doing some amazing stuff, my friend. You're doing the Lord's work when it comes to what the CoCo community needs.
Actually, right now, I'm not doing any developing other than the salt chip. I'm just doing some transcribing. The fun comes later when this is available to actually develop with. I think.
Yeah.
My perspective. And then I did want to show one more thing. I'm sorry. I won't.
That's okay. Go ahead.
So actually, a couple more things. Where did I put that? So to size it. Am I still sharing? No.
Yeah, you are. We
Yep,
see.
you are.
We see your side by side.
Okay. So I just wanted to show this is the rendition next to a picture of the actual board. It's close. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was like, well, yeah, I want to see how much it would cost to get it with what I have. It's routed. I could order it, by the way, but I want to wait till I get. I want to measure that one last thing before I order it. So I got JLPCB quote here, and I got for 5 boards. It's not much. It's $21.60 plus 25. The shipping is more than the 5 boards.
That's insane, man.
So for under $50, I can get 5 boards.
Wow.
It's amazing, I think.
So for the price of 100 to 150 boards, you can get a CoCo 3 single on eBay, not even knowing it's working.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an unpopulated board, right?
That is
That's just the PCB.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is work involved there, and I have sourced the components. I'm going to buy them and build it, and that takes time and effort. The other thing you can do, my next step, and I started doing that with CoCo 2, is that I can replace all those components with surface mount components. All the passive components I can just replace with surface mount, and then I can just order it. And JLC PCB offers an assembly service, and they it's like $3 or something. It's per board. It's super.
So that would be with all the sockets and capacitors and resistors already on?
Well, so the surface mount stuff they've recently started to offer, and I use them already. They will solder on through-hole components.
Okay.
And they charge $3 per board, plus I think it's 0.2 cents, not even a cent, 0.2 cents per pin they have to solder. So still affordable.
Right.
Now, the requirement is that the components need to be in their database, need to be in their inventory.
Right.
And so, they don't have it, then they won't do it. But still, if you can get, let's say, 85% done, it's...
Of the socket, so when the board shipped to you, a lot of the sockets are already soldered on, a lot of the surface mount stuff's already surfaced and mounted, and all that kind of stuff. It just reduces the amount of manual labor has to go into finishing up the board.
Yep.
Hey, the other day I saw a small chip, maybe a board. It's maybe 1.5 inches by 1 inch, and it said it was a early PC complete with some kind of a I/O on the one end of it. So what they've done is they put everything from the motherboard on this little chip in a surface mount chip or whatever. They can do the same thing with our CoCo 3, right? Do you think?
Oh,
basically.
You're talking about. I think you're talking about this tiny little single board computer running.
Yeah,
Linux.
but
It's like an inch
yeah,
by an inch.
Yeah, it's real tiny. It emulates. I guess it does CGA and VGA out and everything. Pretty cool.
Well, I again, I'm still learning all this stuff that's in the community, but there is there are CoCo FPGA projects out there, right? That I guess are analogous to that. So everything could be on a small little board. That's
Interesting.
Amazing they can do this.
Well, cool. Thank you, Pedro. For those, if you want to give us the link to, anyone wants to put out his YouTube link in our chat for his Rocky Hill YouTube channel, just if you guys want to see what he's doing. He's doing some cool stuff. I just have one brief update / announcement to share, and then we can move on to the GameON results. But if you are a member of our CoCo Discord server and you've been following the CoCo Pi channel, we are working on a new image for the CoCo Pi project. So, and it's not going to be on the website yet because it's not quite ready for prime time, but it is available to download and burn in test. So the current work in progress CoCo Pi community image link is in our CoCoPie channel on Discord. And I also published, I also put a link to an unpublished YouTube video on kind of how to walk through, set it up, and get the ROMs and get some software repositories and some of the cool new features that are going to take place with ease of use and real-time clocks and MC10 and the MC server and how to get the CoCo SDC image running on there. So there is a work in progress image to download and burn for those who want to try it. And there's a kind of a walkthrough video showing you how to set up that image and how to take advantage of some stuff, hit the ground running with it in our CoCo Discord server. That's kind of still insider information. I don't want to put it out on Facebook at large. I don't want to put it on the web, but it's good enough to use. It's just not quite ready for the world at large. So I would encourage people to get it, download it, and try it. And we need people to give us feedback on what is working, what isn't working. The nice thing about this new image is that it will run on a CoCo. It will run on a Raspberry Pi 3, a Raspberry Pi 4, and a Raspberry Pi 400. You just have to run a few menu options and do a few internet updates to get it to get the right drivers and configurations for whichever platform you're running on. But everything that you need to do to make this thing future-proof can now be pulled in through the internet through a menu option, so we don't have to keep re-imaging this as we move forward, including getting new updates to MAME and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a really cool, very promising future for the Raspberry Pi / CoCoPie project, and we need some people to kind of drive it around the block and kick the tires and whatnot, and make sure we're getting all the bugs ironed out so we can make this available to the public. I noticed there was a handful of questions on the CoCoPie Facebook group throughout the week that I came across, like people saying, how do I get the ROMs copied? Well, there's a menu option for that. And how do I make this happen? Well, there, you know, and if you go to the CoCo-Pi website, there's a number of YouTube videos that show you how to get it on the Wi-Fi, how to download the ROM images to get things up and running. So we've spent some time trying to give people the tools they need to hit the ground with the CoCoPie. Another question that came up was the question of the P key, where if you're typing on your CoCo and you happen to type the letter P while you're typing out a program listing or whatever, P is the pause key for MAME. And, you know, some people say, well, that's confusing or that's frustrating. And yes, but that's what MAME uses. Now, MAME was originally designed to emulate an arcade machine, and most arcade machines didn't have keyboards, so the fact that P on your keyboard to pause Pac-Man wasn't an issue. But now that we're using MAME to run a computer with a keyboard, and we are going to press the letter P at some point in time, yes, that's going to pause, but I also have a YouTube video on how to configure, you know, how to reconfigure MAME, and we don't want to try to force a configuration on somebody on what we think MAME should be. MAME is what MAME is, and you need to be a little bit familiar with some of the defaults and a little bit familiar with how to kind of fine-tune them to your preference. But there's a ton of resources out there, and the CoCoPie project is a cool project. I like it. I would prefer this myself over something like an FPGA. I realize there are pros and cons to hardware emulation, but it's a very inexpensive way to experience a lot of machines and a lot of software, very user friendly, and I'll leave it at that. Anybody else have anything they want to say about updates, acquisitions, questions, comments, etc. before we move on to GameON results?
Where did you say the installation video is in Discord?
On the CoCo-Pi channel, which is under the hardware category.
All right.
I know there's only like 9,000 channels to have to try to sift through to get
group
to it.
412, sub-entry number 8.
And honestly, I had a hard time finding it, and I posted stuff there. So yeah, I feel your pain, Ron. If only we had a channel. We need a channel guide. We need a channel to let us know how many channels we have and what kind of channels we have on Discord. That's what we need. All right. So are we ready for the GameON results? Nick Marotta,
Yes.
Are you ready?
I am.
And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to even see what the game of the week was last week, so I'm going to learn what you guys played this week because I've been so busy. I'm behind, but I do have a little insider knowledge on what next week's game is going to be. Spoiler alert, but no spoilers from me. And I believe and I hope that we might have a new CoCo Thoughts that may or may not be tied in to this, may or may not be a musical parody, not sure, but we're going to find out. So we're going to start off with CoCo Thoughts, and then we'll get into the results. Here we go.
And now, CoCo Thoughts
I kicked a rock
by Samuel guy.
I jump fire. I kicked a rock. I jump fire. I am a pastel ninja. Didn't expect that, did ya? In fact, those enemies want to injure, but it is a pain that will linger. I kicked a rock. I jump fire. I kicked a rock. I jump fire.
Oh, I smelled a Kung Fu Fighting parody coming on, but I wasn't sure where he was going to go with that. Pastel Ninja, didn't see that one coming. And you know what I love about Samuel Gimes is that he never phones it in. He gives 110% performance to each and every one. That is what we come to expect.
Much to the detriment of Ron. But
yes. The bar is so high that it takes...
Could I just say what I like about it?
Yes, Ron.
Too much? I'm
yes.
Burn.
Oh my goodness. Samuel Gimes always giving 110%, giving it till it hurts, and trust me, that one hurt. That was very good, Mr. Gimes. Thank you for that. Here we go. Oh, was it on mute? Did somebody say it was on mute? Those in the live stream, did you guys hear the music? Because that should not have changed. Real quick before we move on, I want to make sure everybody was able to enjoy that audibly, because I will gladly play it again. And I know Ron wants to hear it again. I want to hear an encore on that one.
I think it's fine, whatever happened.
What? Because Mike Miller is saying, was it on mute? No, Ron's Love was on mute. Ah, okay. There we go. All right, so we are now going to get on to the results of last week's Game on the Week. And here we go. In 3 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
High Score Challenge.
All right, welcome to this week's results. This week we played Ninja Warrior with 15 scores submitted. Mr. Dave, 1,900. Exile in Paradise, 7,300. Canadian Retro Things, 11,800. Tom Gun, 11,800. Sabhead, 12,100. Me, 12,400. Rich N, 13,100. Tom C, 15,700. Pedro Pena, 18,600. Jim Rye, 20,700. David Craker, 22,500. Tasman, 23,500. Paul Shoemaker, 27,000. L. Curtis Boyle, 33,300. And the number one score this week belongs to Buck Owens with 34,700. Thank you to all of this week's participants.
CoCoTALK salutes Buck Owens.
All right, Buck Owens has reclaimed the title of the top scoring player of the week. Been many, many weeks where Buck Owens was not number one. It's good to see you back, King of the Hill. And Nick Marotta, your hair is looking fantastic, sir.
Oh, thank
you
you.
are an inspiration to all of us who have hair, and probably to some of us who don't.
Hold on, what are you trying to say there, Stevie?
I'm just saying Nick's hair is awesome. Wasn't talking about you, Greg.
Everybody's in awe of Nick's hair, let's be honest.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, that was so Ninja Warrior. Figured it out, Stevie. Ninja Warrior was the game of the week.
Everybody was pastel ninjas.
You guys see my screen?
We see it, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yes.
So there was a Hot Cocoa review where they thought it was a good game. Deserves high score. Among
Hold on a second. What is this word here? I first look askance. Askance? What is that word? Is that English?
Where are you?
Askance, yes.
I first looked askance at Ninja Warrior. What does askance mean? Like casually?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, that's not in my vernacular, sir. I'll have you know. But
it's a negative connotation. If you look askance at something, you look at it with disdain.
Oh, okay. I looked upon with disdain Ninja Warrior.
Well, the graphics are pretty low res and chunky, and it's got the Puyan palette, so I could see why maybe visually he was turned off at first.
Okay. It seemed like a silly rehash of the Moonhopper idea with the moon buggy replaced by a neophyte martial artist who must jump and kick his way. I like this guy. Well, I'll never believe that the mountains of feudal Japan ever saw such goings on, but a few rounds of play showed me that this game was a true challenge to my reflexes and judgment. Wow, he came around. Look at that. You're a ninja.
He did.
A little bit later, he says the first 2 or 3 levels are rather easy, even boring.
I like this guy. Ninja Warrior presents a real challenge to your physical and mental reactions and deserves a high score among CoCo games. All right, positive review in the end there. Although he looked at it askantly, he came around and liked it. So
that's right. So once again, Canadian Retro Things provided this gameplay video. Thank you, CRT. Check out the Canadian Retro Things channel for retro content.
I will mention this video he recorded on the CoCo 3, which doesn't support the higher semi-graphics modes, which is why the screen looks a bit odd. But
and the palays are a little bit askew as well. I'm looking at this askancely at this point.
Okay.
So
now, Stevie, is this one you played?
I have played this in the past. I actually did this in one of my DVD specials. I don't know if I did a public YouTube video on this, but I did do this for one of my DVD compilations of exclusive content. I was a fan of it. I believe in my playthrough I made it to Yellow Belt. I remember that I got a little confused on what I was supposed to do and when I was supposed to do it, because you think you have to jump the rocks, like you used the Moonhopper reference. You have to get used to the fact that you can actually kick the rocks.
Yes.
Which makes the game a little bit more playable. I don't think you can kick the fire though, right?
No.
You can spear it if it's the fire that's flying from the sky. If you run up, you can spear it with your trident thingy.
Kick the baby.
What it's called. Yeah.
So have you done that successfully then, Curtis?
Yes, it's not easy.
Oh, okay.
And kind of a waste of time.
And actually, the pastel colors here don't look nearly as bad on the CoCo 3. And Kevin has to drop off. Thanks for being here, Kevin. Look forward to having you back on again. Look forward to your project as it progresses.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Later, Kevin.
So it's
yeah, the graphics look kind of hand-drawn, cartoony, crayon-y, like a kid would draw a hollow stick figure type thing. But the playability, I think, is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even what I thought back in the day when I first got it. Because, I mean, this is only required 16K. You didn't even need joysticks. You can play it on keyboard or joystick. You can have it to 6 players at once. But it's a game that kind of grows on you once you get used to it. And it's got pretty satisfying sound effects here when you kick rocks and spear the guy. And not so great when you get burnt up like a fireball. But the one nice thing about it is you got all the different levels of belts. You got white and then yellow and second level yellow and I can't remember the exact order, but green, blue, red, and then you get your 10 levels of black. But up until you get to the black belt, it keeps adding something new each level. So there's more stuff to learn. So you kind of learn as you go type thing, which is always a fun thing to do in the game.
You think they could have raised that thing he's got in his hand a little bit?
You mean his belt?
No,
the
trident. The trident that he's sticking out.
Well,
when he's not sticking it out.
When he's not sticking it out.
Yeah, okay. I believe Buck Owens made a comment, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, about something that his wife thought he looked really happy.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was a joke back in the day, too, I have to say.
Okay. Okay.
For sophomoric, what do you expect?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good game. I never made it as far as the opposing ninjas. I just got to like where the fireballs were falling from the sky, and I couldn't get past that.
Ken says, "Is that a trident in your pocket?"
No, he's just happy to see you.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, when you get to later levels, I mean, they start adding double stacked rocks, which if you time it, if you jump and land on the top and you kick right at the last second, you can actually destroy both in a row. The fireballs are coming more and more heavy. You also got ninjas that don't move first. that you just walk up and spear them, and then you have the later on levels they'll actually run towards you full bore, so you have to be really quick to get them. And later on there's arrows that fire across you, and then of course later on all that's happening all at once. So good luck.
Ninjas and arrows and rocks. Oh my. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't play it that long, but cool. And you have a kind of pseudo parallax feel to the scrolling, where the floor is scrolling at one clip, then you got the mountain range and the clouds. So not the best example.
And the mountain
of
range and
parallax.
clouds are at different clips too, so it's 3-level parallax.
Yeah. So
yeah. The weapon is called a sai. S-A-I.
A sigh of relief.
Right, yeah. And depending on the weight, it could be a heavy sigh. All right, so.
No, I always found this a really fun game. I remember when I first got it way back in my piracy days. And like most people said, I was not that impressed with the graphics. The sound on the initial start screen is kind of grating, which didn't give a great first impression. But after I played it a few times as a teenager, I just started loving the game. Especially as you got better and you kind of learned the tricks and getting through to the further belt levels, and you keep adding new stuff to deal with. That it has that exploration thing.
Right.
Well.
So it's you almost have to play it for a while to get to the point where you can get to where things get better. And if you kind of rage quit early on, you would never know what the future would have possibly held in store. That's where maybe something like an attract mode or something that would say, it kind of tease at what you might have. This game didn't really have an attract mode or anything, did it?
No, just the time the screen was flashing colors, basically.
Oh, and speaking of attract modes, that is something else that's going to be a new feature on the CoCo Pi image, where in the past, Ron Klein had a menu option to do an attract mode where it would just cycle through all the standard Tandy cartridges, and it would just run whatever that cartridge did for about a minute and go on to another cartridge and so on. He's expanding that attract mode now to pull things from the Ultimate SDC image too off of discs. So a future update to the CoCo Pi will start to run in attract mode on anything that's in the multi-thousand disc library in the CoCo SDC image, where your CoCo is just going to randomly cycle through software, bring it up, run it for a minute, and then keep on going. So that's almost kind of a cool thing just to run in the background, just random CoCo stuff running all the time, like a screensaver almost,
Yeah, that's cool. I will mention one little trick. I don't know if most people noticed here playing it, but the more you jump, the more open gap floors you will get. So even on level 1, where you normally would never get one, if you start jumping, because you get extra points if you jump and then land and kick a rock, you get a point for jump, or you get points for jumping it, and you get points for killing the rock too, so you can actually rack up your score higher. But then you'll start getting the gaps opening up more and more, so that the more you jump, the more you have to deal with. You have to jump.
Oh, Tim Lindner says, hey, I'm at VCF West this morning in Mountain View, California. Come to the exhibit hall and come find me and say hi. I wish we had planned this better, where we could have done a live feed from there. But hey, Tim, if anybody's out there at VCF West, look for Tim Lindner. He's that guy playing Daggerath like that idiot in the book.
That's cool.
Yeah,
thank you, Nick, for picking this game here, because I know it was one of my suggestions just because it was such a fun one. And I know Mike Miller in the chat says it was one of the real time sync games back in the day for me, many, many hours. Same here. It was one of my favorites actually after I got used to it.
Yeah,
I got to say, though, I'm still a little disappointed when Bill Noble typed in DOD. I was really looking forward to seeing Dungeons of Daggerath on Nitrous 9. So you got your work cut out for you, Bill.
That might happen yet.
You got your work cut out for you there, Bill Noble.
Well, William Assell's got the source code now.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
That wouldn't be too hard to port, I don't think. Not that I'm volunteering.
Not me either.
Yeah, I remember playing this game as a youth. I forgot about it.
You're getting a lot of fireballs. I do, and honestly, it never even dawned on me that this was kind of sort of like Moon Patrol. But I loved how he called Moon Hopper, which was the CoCo version of Moon Patrol. Yeah, it's very similar to Moon Hopper, which is a complete ripoff of Moon Patrol. But yeah, oh man, caught on fire! Boom.
Yeah, fun game. Hopefully, some people that didn't get a chance to try it out earlier here, or gave up on it too quick, because once you get used to the timing to kick rocks and jumping the fireballs and stuff like that, you can also move left and right too. Though I don't think Ken did too much. In the
Ninja
video,
Rover Patrol, Ken says. I made it to checkpoint.
It is a fun game.
I made it to
one of my
checkpoint
favorites.
E.
Yeah.
There's also it was one of the ones that was sold in the UK for the Dragon too, because somebody had posted the artwork from the Dragon cassette for it too.
Oh, which I'm sure is a hell of a lot better.
Pretty well identical. Well, it had PAL, so it probably looked cleaner on the screen.
But I mean, though, the artwork on the cassette, the packaging probably looked better.
Oh
but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that would look pretty good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the CoCo versions artwork actually, to be honest.
I'm gonna say Xeroxing and Ziploc bags were involved. Taking a wild guess. Cool stuff.
All right.
And
So
any tips, tricks other than what Curtis has been saying? Anyone?
You can spear the falling fireballs. I wouldn't do that. It's hard, it's difficult, and it's usually fatal, so I wouldn't bother. You will notice that there are certain patterns of fireballs and rocks later on that come out. There's a certain set number of patterns for the most part, and you can kind of anticipate what you're doing. Timing is a big thing, though. I mean, you have to time your jumps on the fireball, especially if you get fireballs rapid fire in a row. You'll like basically hold down the jump key or lift the joystick up to jump several times in a row. Sometimes you have to back up in order to not get burst into flame. But yeah, I mean, the later levels get insane. I know Buck Owens actually found the cheat pokes for it, so you wouldn't lose men, because he wanted to see what the final level grandmaster. Now, basically, the black belts they don't add anything new, but they start giving you everything at once. So you might have a double high rock, falling fireballs, an arrow, and a running ninja all coming at you at the same time. So it gets incredibly difficult. But yeah, it's a pretty hard game at that level. I got up to second level black belt, and my score barely. So
cool.
I found keyboard easier. That's one thing I will say than joystick.
Keyboard.
Nick Marode, are you ready to tell the world at large and at home what next week's game is going to be?
I am.
And any significance it may be playing into next week's show?
Well, I'll just speak briefly about this because I'm sure Curtis and that will fill you in more. But next week is our Dragon special. So we wanted to do a Dragon game, and we got input from the panelists as to what games were popular on a Dragon to feature. And we had one that was a clear runaway, which we're doing this week. And then another one came in second place, which we're going to do next week. So this week's game, which also has been ported to the CoCo 3, so you can find it on the STC image. So this game is, I know Curtis knows it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep, I won't spell it.
It is called Chucky Egg.
All right, A&F Software. A game.
So it is keyboard controlled. I don't know if there's a joystick option. I've only been able to make it work with the keyboard. So basically, it's your platformer, collect everything, avoid the crazy. I think it's a duck at the top.
Ostrich, something.
Ostrich,
Who
duck.
knows?
I don't know.
I'm sure
anything
60 or some of the people in the chat can give us the accurate description.
This is one of the all-time great Hall of Fame Mount Rushmore type games over in the UK.
Yeah,
this is a legend. So.
Well, they're literally, like I said,
Jim Rice said joust on ladders.
Almost everybody who gave input to the games mentioned, like we said, name 2-3 games, and everybody pretty much named Chucky Egg as one of the games that they really like.
Yeah, just to give you a bit of focus, I mean, John can go into more detail because they've played Chucky Egg and some of the other platforms that got it, because this was hugely popular around basically every 8-bit machine in the UK at the time. But we had 11 votes for Chucky Egg and only 3 for the second place finisher. So that should give you an idea how vastly popular this was.
I think Chucky Egg first debuted on the BBC Micro, but of course it was ported to every system under the sun over there. The Amstrad got a port, of course the C64, the Atari 8-bits, and all that stuff. So it's only natural that the Dragon fell in line.
Yeah.
Could definitely use a little palette hacking, but
yeah, it's definitely possible since it's on the CoCo for sure.
Yep. 6E says it's hens and the duck is in the cage.
Aha, I knew there was a duck somewhere. Okay. So this is playable in XRoar if you want to play the Dragon version, and it's playable on CoCo if you want to use the CoCo version, obviously. So they're identical, so play whichever version you would like to play.
Which means that if you wanted to pull this from the World of Dragon archive, or maybe even in the Color Computer archive, there's probably a play online where it's, especially since it's only keyboard, you could play it online through the browser.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you don't have to worry about the whole, difficult
And both
thing.
both archives support that, so you can play the Dragon version
Right.
and the CoCo version on
Yeah.
your respective archive.
Oh, neat.
Okay,
All
Mike
right.
Miller says it's spuggies. We used to call those ostrich things, called them spuggies. They're
Spuggies.
Spoogies. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Maybe I'll
660
fire that
says,
up.
by the way, best game ever.
Ken says
Nice.
he's surprised it wasn't a Cuthbert game because Cuthbert is rather popular with the Dragon and kind
Yeah.
of UK EU community out there.
I thought the same thing. That would be a Cuthbert.
Ironically, neither of the top two finishers featured Cuthbert.
No. Did Cuthbert appear at all in any of the ranking? Any of your favorites? I don't remember.
Yeah, there was a couple that he appears in. There's also there's a bit of a news story. I'll be talking with one of the people who's actually going to be a guest next week. But he posted some photos. The Cuthbert mascot image is actually used on multiple microdeal games that have nothing to do with Cuthbert.
Okay.
Because that was kind of their mascot.
Right.
Yeah.
So Curtis too. I don't know if you checked Facebook this morning because I tagged you, but we got a comment on our CoCoTALK page about the Dragon special by someone who says he actually had worked on one of the assemblers for the Dragon. And so I had tagged you saying, well, I don't know if we have time to get him on the show this week because the show's pretty much been booked and stuff. But check Facebook later on for that tag. I don't remember the person's name, but another Dragon person.
Yeah, he did some ham radio stuff too.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's
yeah.
actually a couple people that have contacted me already. In addition to that guy, that kind of. I think at the beginning people weren't thinking we were too serious about doing a big Dragon special. Now that they've seen the promo and now they've seen all the guests we're going to have, I think we'll have to do a second one with, with
absolutely.
a bunch of new faces.
Or even just continuously featuring a dedicated Dragon segment. Like we do try to cover Dragon in the news, but like a Dragon segment where we can talk intelligently about something that's going on in the world.
Yeah, and maybe
Dragon.
have a Dragon guest on.
A Dragon guest or as a recurring thing, that invitation has always been open, but maybe now we need to make that a little bit more of a formal invitation and actually, maybe get some contracts involved or some, something.
Yeah, and we want to set up a lot more interviews too. Like a lot of people that will be on the Dragon Talk special because it's going to be such a long show where they're only going to have like 15 minutes to go over their stuff. And there's several of them that have done far more that will never fit in 15 minutes. So we'll try to book them on for separate interviews later on too.
Right. So and in just a minute here, we're going to do a handoff to the internet's own Grant Leedy, who will pick up the second part of the show. But I want to kind of wax nostalgic and wax appreciative here for just a minute because I've been going through a lot of stuff with home renovations and work and life and everything else. So I've been super busy, which is why I have not been on the show as much. And so to that note, I just want to thank everybody who continues to keep the show going, the Mark Bosleys of the world and the Grant Leedys and the Curtises and the Mark Overholzers and the Nick Marotas and everybody who keep the show going and keep it going, and the audience who is here. I was just thinking back because I was kind of just skimming a few things, and somebody was I was reading the CoCo mailing list, and somebody was talking about, CoCo Fest might not happen, and Canada might not be able to make it. And have you guys ever considered doing a virtual CoCo Fest? And as soon as somebody asked that question, I'm thinking, well, you've obviously never heard of our show, and that's okay because there are going to be 2 or 3 people in the world who haven't. But so I took that moment to look up the link and post the link to last year's virtual CoCo Fest, and I started watching the first few minutes of it. I'm like, my God, that was a damn good show, man. That virtual CoCo Fest was 6 hours of awesomeness. And that's what this Dragon show is going to be. It is going to be an awesome show. I mean, every episode of CoCoTALK is a good show, but we've got some great shows out there too. And this Dragon one is going to be an awesome show. So I'm really, literally excited about that. And all these guests and interviews, we have Ron Delvaux's been bringing them in. Curtis Boyle's working on booking guests. Every time I wonder, are we ever going to run out of steam? Is this train going to run out of steam and is it going to stop on the tracks? I don't see that happening because you got people like Pedro who keep making new motherboards and stuff, and you got the freaking CoCo IO boards. You got Nick Marota's hair that continues to get better looking every week. It's just like we're never going to run out of something cool and fun to talk about. And, there was a time earlier on where I was really excited about trying to share that with the world, and I was trying to try to spread the love on social media, and I felt like I kind of got my hand slapped a few times, and so I'm kind of butthurt about trying to be excited and promote this show myself. But I would love it if other people who feel like I feel and say this is a cool show to try to spread that word and spread that love, because for as much as we've grown as a show and as much as our audience has grown, I know there's a lot of people who've still never heard of us and never seen us. And I think things like this Dragon special are just going to be a great resource on showing how committed we are to retro communities and what a great program this is. And I would love it that if more people found out about that and just joined us, because I think the people who show up every week in our live chat, we know who you are. We know you by name. We see you every week. You're committed. You're consistent. We know we've got our regular panel. It really feels like we have something special. It's not just a show. It's not just blowing smoke or blowing hot air. It really feels like something. And I think that feeling for me has continued to kind of impress me. And Alan's mentioning that Septandy's coming up, so another excuse to celebrate. But yeah, I think a lot of great things are happening. And I just want to say thank you to all you guys who have been keeping the track on, the train on the track, and all the audience who's still here with us and all that kind of stuff. So I'll shut up now about that. But it's not every day I say something nice to you losers, so just take it for what it's worth, right? So
Who are you again?
You're right.
Aren't you an ex-employee or something?
Right, that's right. That's true. I'm on probation, right? But no, I'm really
the pink slip.
Yeah, I'm excited about the future of our hobby and our community, because it just seems like it continues to grow, and it's all positive,
Agreed.
All right, so we're going to take a brief pause here as I stop streaming, and we're going to get the stream set up again, and Grant's going to pick up on part 2. So if you're watching us live on YouTube, you're probably going to have to refresh the playlist to see part 2 show up here in a minute. If you're watching us on Twitch, it'll go dark for a minute and pick right back up. If you're watching us on Facebook, it's going to start a new stream. So if you're watching us and you want to see part 2, you're going to have to, wherever you are, most likely refresh that page you're on to get part 2 of the stream. But I'll update the description, so it will say part 2. And join us again here in about 2 minutes for part 2 of CoCoTALK, episode 224. Until then, Stevie Stroh saying later, bitches.
Later.
Oh, wow.